Destiny, Blair White, and a special third person, Brad Plumbus. These three come together to form the most cursed blunt rotation circle that you have ever seen in your life. And I believe that Brad is just hosting this little debate that they had. The debate itself is much longer than 4 minutes, but I'm just going to watch this 4-minute segment because there's no way I can handle like longer than that. And I'm not going to go searching for it anyway. I just stumbled across this on Twitter. Thought it'd be fun to go over. Not the biggest Destiny fan. If allegations are to be believed, he is in fact allegedly, once again, a pedophile who messaged an underage individual about sex stuff and sending pictures back and forth, I believe. So, you know, but at the same time, that's a big but. I shouldn't say but. I do want to still go over this because, you know, it'll be entertaining content. So, and also Blair White's a fucking transphobe and a piece of shit too. So they are honestly, all three of them are pieces of shit. So it'll just be fun to watch them fight.
I don't think there should be any political violence in this country. I condemn all political violence. Nobody should be killing anybody for political reasons. It's the United
Wait, why is it sped up?
States of America. We can fucking vote, especially the same people that tell you that you shouldn't vote or whatever that are out killing people.
Hold on.
It's the dumbest thing
That's not actually the speed, is it?
in the world. Okay. The problem, though, is that the violence is a predictable
All right, I can't do it at the speed.
response to a person who is stoking violence, and there's no way to get over.
Oh, that is actually just how fast he talks. That's crazy. I legitimately thought that it was sped up.
I don't think there should be any political violence in this country. I condemn all political violence. Nobody should be killing anybody for political reasons. It's the United States of America. We can fucking vote, especially the same people that tell you that you shouldn't vote or whatever that are out killing people. Is the dumbest thing in the world. Okay. The problem, though, is that the violence is a predictable response to a person who is stoking violence.
You like Brad just staring at you? Staring directly into your soul. Destiny sped up sounds like old Ben Shapiro. I only listen to videos at 1.5. I like listening to things at the speed that they actually take place.
And there's no way to get over that or around that. Like, I can scream at people all day and say, you guys shouldn't do that. It doesn't matter. Much the same that if I were to tell my community.
But what you're really saying when you say that is that that side deserves it because of the words coming out of that side's mouth. That's really what you're saying. What you're really
Brad giving the Erica Kirk stare LMAO.
Indeed, he is the Erica Kirk stare. Thank you very much for another 100
saying
bits.
is not that it's predictable. You're not just analyzing. You're not being objective. You're saying Trump talks a lot of shit. So essentially, he's going to get hit. That's kind of what you're saying.
No, you're not.
And I don't think that's true because there's a million things coming out of the left every day.
No. It's not just Trump talks shit so he's going to get hit. This is what Destiny's trying to say is that this is the natural consequence of the trajectory of the country as it currently stands and of the world, because nothing is changing like for the better. Nothing's getting better. Nothing's improving, and nothing has been improving for a long time. People are hopeless. They don't feel like anything matters anymore, and they've been taught to believe that by their betters. Nothing matters. Therefore, you know, the only way to make any substantive change is to act out in these ways, which I don't believe and I don't advocate for, by the way. Doing like if you assassinate Donald Trump, literally nothing changes. Nothing changes. Like, they're just going to put a new guy in there and have the same puppet string pullers pull those puppet strings, and nothing's really legitimately like it would change the base for sure, but like it wouldn't change the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Okay, it wouldn't. So even on a practical level, like I don't advocate for political violence, period. Okay, but even from a practical perspective, it doesn't make any sense to do it. We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. That's pretty true.
Log on social media, and I'm seeing some leftists either death threatening me personally or going.
That correspondence dinner thing was so fake. We've gone over that a little bit, but even if it was fake, is ADHD okay, yeah. Well, I do sometimes speak fast. I try to enunciate my words, though. Even if the dinner shooting was fake, that doesn't change anything. It really doesn't. Like, either the country is violent enough that happened, which we already knew, or Donald Trump's administration is corrupt enough that they would fake that, which we already knew. You should do the tit for tat strat combined with radical empathy. I think I've said this a couple of times. I'm not a radical empath anymore. I'm a critical empath. I think that critical empathy is the way to go, because like when you say radical empathy, people always mistake that for, oh my God, you're going to show like kindness and joy and whatever to everybody that you meet. And that's not what I meant. What I meant was put yourself into the headspace of another person and understand where they're coming from, and that will help you coordinate your next move better. I think that we should seek to understand every single person's headspace, specifically because that is what will allow us to attack them. Not even just attack them, but like attack the problem the best. You know what I mean? So I would say I'm a critical empath now, just saying. But I don't know what you mean by the tit for tat strat either.
Viral for saying President Trump should be shot. And in no part of my being am I like, this person realistically should have retaliation against them, legal perhaps. But
deserves is. I
one...
understand what you're saying. Deserves is a strong word though, because it's a morally loaded term.
Why is he here? He's so like, is he not creepy? I'm sorry. This stare that he gives straight on to the camera is creepy. This is why I don't do like a direct like staring at the camera bit, because like I don't even want to have the chance to like come off this way. I know some people do it, but like there's something about, you know what it is? You can almost see the top and bottom, like the whites of his eyes on the top and bottom outside of his irises. That's what it is.
But that's kind of the implication that you're saying when you're constantly saying that it's expected.
I understand, but like if I go up to a person on the street and say, I'm gonna f your girlfriend, the guy's probably gonna punch me in the face. Now, do I deserve it morally? No, you should be able to say whatever the f you want aside from death threats and not have somebody attack you for it. You should never get attacked for your speech. But if I told somebody that happened, they would say, well, f around and find out. Like, that's kind of what's going to happen. What do you expect? What I'm saying is that Trump is in the around find out phase to where should anybody be doing political violence? Absolutely fucking not. But like, should Hamas have done October 7th? No, that was a horrible fucking action. But like, give people no voice and no
Oh, is he now on the side of like, oh, wow. I always thought that he was like pro-Israel. That's interesting that he flip-flopped on that.
Representation for decades and make their options seem increasingly, narrow. Yeah, that's going to happen, obviously. Like, there are things that are going to happen in the world that shouldn't happen, but they're predictable outcomes of environments that we could otherwise change. That's the statement I'm trying to make.
But sometimes you bring that up.
I think what makes it mostly predictable.
Oh, I thought that Brad was just moderating here. Oh, he got cut off, though.
And again, I just don't think it's
Blair
only
White him. Blair White
Trump's words that matter. Trump will do a Truth Social post once in a while and you see it.
Destiny isn't pro-Palestine, to be clear. He does Hasbara cope.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he still does the both sides shit. Thank you very much for another 100
And on a certain percentage of those, you're like, wow, that's like a disgusting thing to say. Wow, that's like low-key dangerous. I can log on any social media app any day of the week. I can log on mainstream news any day of the week and see people on the left saying the same thing, if not worse. So again, I just think it applies to everybody.
Okay, like what though? What are they saying? Like what? What do you mean?
And until everybody's willing to make it apply to everybody, then we're going to be in this situation. And I don't think it's a both sides problem. If it was a both sides problem, the equivalent of a Charlie Kirk on the left would have been shot at by now. If it was a both sides problem, Biden would have got shot at once. And I'm so glad that's never happened. And I pray and I hope that never ever happens. But it's really this.
We had two lawmakers assassinated in Minnesota. Sides. There were two Minnesota.
Yeah.
And if
wait, Destiny's correct here. Yeah, there were people who died on the left that just never. The left, Democratic politicians who died, and Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked brutally with a hammer. It's just a violent country. It is just a violent country. Okay, and you can say the violence comes from both sides. The left has been kicking and screaming for reasonable gun reform and access to mental health care, preventative mental health care, right? And better educational standards so that people don't do this shit, and better conditions, okay? Because better conditions make it so that people are just less likely to throw their lives away, okay? If you feel like you have nothing to lose, that is when you are the most dangerous. That is when you're the most likely to do something that
Blair White reading any comments under any Ilhan Omar post. I see no issues.
Thanks for another 100 bits.
And I'll say this, as much as I can condemn what Trump says, if the consequences of his words were really that bad, then again, you would see this violence coming from his supporters towards people on the left at the same rate as it's happening the other way around. And it's just not happening.
They don't have to be violent. They see the state doing it on their behalf.
Yep.
In what way?
In the alligator Alcatraz way.
Alligator Alcatraz. ICE is the best first place to go. Funding Israel, of course. You know, all the anti-trans legislation, which I don't think Destiny would bring up, but, you know, that is also violence. It's also violence to, like, not give, like, affordable healthcare to people. We can talk about all the, like, indirect violence as well.
ICE way, in the way that Trump is trying to politically prosecute all of his opponents, in the way that Trump gave a pass and pardons anybody that commits crimes on his behalf. They don't need to commit violence. I
promise you what the actual sentiment on the right is that Trump is not doing nearly enough in terms of illegal immigration. Nobody on the right is like, yeah, Trump's really... No one's saying Trump's really
nothing to do with what
or anything like that. That's really not.
That's not what I said. What I'm saying is that you don't feel like you have to go out and commit violence as a person on the right because Donald Trump is the president and he'll do it on your behalf. He's got you. He's got your back.
I mean, but it is meaningfully.
Okay, but then my question would be. One quick question then.
Sure.
Then why wasn't this sort of violence happening when Biden was in office, when actually people on the right did feel that was like, as someone, again, who's on the right and in those ecosystems and those algorithms, that's the peak hopelessness that I saw that people on the right felt, which, you know,
wow, there was less violence occurring when Biden was in office? That's crazy.
When they did in something like a January 6th, people were definitely down bad on the right. Why wasn't that level of violence happening towards the Biden administration.
Because it wasn't real. Because you guys hallucinated it. And you can see this over and over and over and over again.
God.
I know.
I think Destiny was completely correct there. Yeah, I don't think that... I mean, Blair White did a decent job holding her own, I guess, but like, Destiny's right. He was right. Also, Brad Palumbo added nothing to the conversation, and I find that kind of funny. He like tried to, but then he like got cut off, and he's just sitting there. He's best at being technically correct. I mean, when he does it for a good cause, I'm okay with it. It's just that like he's not a great person, and he doesn't always do it for a good cause. So obnoxiously, Destiny is often right. That is true. Often, not always. Hi, thanks so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you all know that I love and appreciate everybody in my community, whether you can support me financially or just by liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. It helps way more than you know. That being said, I do want to give a very special thanks to my tier 4 subs, which would be Space Timid and Hot Take Andy. And thanks so much to my monetary subscribers from any of the tiered subs or anybody who gives me money in any form, including going to my Patreon shop, donating money to me directly. It all helps way more than you know. If you do decide to help me financially, you can get some really cool perks like early access to content, exclusive access to censored videos, also some really cool badges next to your name. Even if you can't afford a monetary subscription, just watching, sharing, and commenting on my content helps way more than you know. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video.